Welcome back to Chatty Sparkly Runners, and this is our second episode all about warming up, isn't it, Colin?
Yeah,
it's
essential to warm up.
It is essential to warm up, and we thought we'd give you a few hints and tips about dynamic stretching today.
Yeah, and when to do it.
Yeah, to help you improve your balance, to stretch your running muscles and improve coordination. But a quick recap first about warming up from last week.
So you warm up differently depending on what you're about to do. So if you're going to run a race, you might warm up for 25 minutes properly, and you start by doing some walking and then jogging and then gradually build up your speed. Then you might do some dynamic stretching, and you might do some sparkly bits, 4 or 5 sparkly bits, each one getting faster.
Yeah.
And then until you feel ready to go.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week, didn't we?
And it's definitely 20 minutes worth. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, if you're just going for a chatty run, you only need to warm up to the speed that you're going at.
Well, I think that's the message of last week's video, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what you need to do is I would always start off by walking, and I told everybody why you have to warm up gently last week. So you start off with the walk and then a super chatty run. Super chatty is slower than chatty, and then start gradually build into it so that by 10 minutes that you're running chatty. And what will happen is you will go through a bit of a breathy phase, because that's
But you can
warming
minimise
up.
that. We talked about that last week, didn't we? And actually what's quite nice, we had a comment on the Facebook group today about giving people permission to walk as part of their warm-up, which is quite important.
That's very important. I always walk.
Yes,
but I don't start my Garmin. Sometimes if people watch me on
Strava,
I include my warm-up.
So let's move on.
Okay.
Today, right?
So what about so when do you do your dynamic stretching? Well,
because because we did mention last week that we see or we hear about people doing some quite dynamic ballistic exercises as part of a warm-up.
Yeah. And so you mustn't do that until you're warmed up, because the purpose. So let's just say you're going for a chatty sparkly run and you're going to do your sparkly bits.
You're going to do some sparkles. Okay. So you might want to do. So you're going to include a little bit of extra warming up in that.
So you've got 2 options. The first option is not to do any dynamic stretches, but to just gradually warm up and get in to the warming up. So you start off by walking like you'd normally do, and then you go super chatty, and then you might go chatty
you do your 10
for a
minutes.
bit. 10 minutes chatty, so all that blood's going into the muscles, and your heart is being, all the capillaries into the heart are opening up. And then so you're gradually warming up, and after 10-12 minutes you feel a bit more like it. And if you want to put some sparkles in and you're not doing any dynamic stretching, then what you need to do is do each sparkle a little bit quicker.
Which is
so
what
build
I always tell my runners to do.
Yeah, and
if you're going to do 4, make sure each one is slightly faster. So you start off slowly.
Yeah, so you don't go off, but there will be there will be the odd people who can't resist from going out like the clappers, and it might be a good idea if they just stretched out. If you want to do some dynamic stretches. Do some dynamic stretches. You don't need to do many. And
can you just say what dynamic stretches are?
Okay, so
because many people might not realise.
Okay,
what
so
they are.
We would always say you would do dynamic stretches before an activity and static stretches after. So a dynamic stretch is a movement stretch, whereas a static stretch is you hold it. So a dynamic stretch, what you're doing is you're gently loosening and stretching out the muscles to get a bigger range of motion, but do it really gently.
And you're actively doing it. You're not standing still and holding anything.
Because you're moving.
Yeah, because you're moving.
And you've got to keep moving, otherwise you'll get cold. It's quite a cold day today. You could get quite cold.
And you should be doing them not right at the start. So you shouldn't be standing in a car park before you set off doing dynamic stretching or jumping up and down.
Because you're stretching your muscles, so you've got to have the muscles have got to be warm in order to stretch. So really, if you were doing a club session, you'd need to do the walking, and then you'd need to
do the super chatty,
then the chatty. And quite a lot of our run leaders will have places where they do their dynamic stretches about 10 minutes into their run, don't they?
So you've got to be warmed up before you do any stretching.
And there are other things apart from stretching your muscles that dynamic stretches do, and that is they help with your balance and coordination. So if you're a beginner runner whose balance is a bit we're
going to show some of those, aren't we? Some very simple Colin is some very simple easy ones that you can include. They won't take a lot of time.
No, and I'll show them 4. If
I show
4 different dynamic stretches,
So the first dynamic stretch you're going to demonstrate is the lunge, isn't it?
Yeah, and you only need to go down until you feel a slight stretch. I feel a slight stretch.
It's like a big step.
Yeah, if you're very supple, you can go right down, almost put your knee on the floor.
But don't push it.
If you're not used to it, just go down until you feel the gentlest of stretch, and I get it in the top of my thigh. And the other thing is, your knee shouldn't be in front of your ankle, because otherwise you'll put a lot of stress on your knee.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it.
Okay, let's have a go.
Go.
Okay, so the second one is, I started calling it Chase the Chickens about 10 years ago.
It's caught on, hasn't it?
Yeah, so if you call it Chase the Chickens too, I'm happy.
Yeah. Some people call it scoops.
Yeah, scoops. So the only thing to remember is have a look at my knees, because my knees are together.
Right, knees together for this one.
Yeah, because some people do sort of turn it into a half Chase the Chickens, half lunge, but no, it's really your knees are together.
Some people find this quite difficult.
Yeah.
Also, watch your front foot, because that's what people really find difficult, keeping the heel to the ground and the toe up.
Yeah, and it's quite, your feet are quite close together when you do it. Have a look at how close.
It is quite challenging if you've not done it before.
Oh, I'm an expert.
But you're an expert. Okay.
Stretches your hamstrings behind your legs.
Looking good. One thing people can do, because we've shown two so far, you can just rewind back and have a look at them.
Yeah, that's what.
Keep looking at them.
Yeah, because you have a look at more than once.
Yeah.
You should always do a silent demonstration. Do it more than once. Yeah. I'm only doing it once, but you can look at it as many times as you like.
Okay, number 3.
I call this a cat stretch, because cats, if you ever look at them, they always stretch their whole body. They never stretch just. You never see a cat just stretch one leg. So it's a squat. You squat down and then you stretch up, and what I'm trying to do is keep my head up so that my back's straight.
Right.
And then I tried to hold the top of the stretch, so I'm on my toes for 3 seconds, if I can manage it.
Right. There's some funny names for this one as well.
Is there?
I might mention those later. Okay. This is Colin just making sure he's doing the squat properly. Rather than leaning too far forward, it's sinking in the hips. My groups, we invented some silly names for that.
I've never heard of it.
You obviously don't have as much fun as we do.
They're much more technical.
Much more technical, yeah. So the first one we invented was reach for the wine.
Oh, yeah.
And then pick up the biscuits.
Okay.
Or the barrel of beer or something.
Yeah.
The children have got a farm analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick the apples, milk the cow.
Okay.
Right.
Well, it's because we come in a rural area.
Because we come from a rural area. So you can invent silly names for these. Okay, number 4
is leg swinging, and if we do it,
we do this differently.
Yeah. So if I just show you a gentle one and then a more advanced version.
I make sure we do a very, very gentle one, because there's quite a lot of balance work in this.
Yeah.
So for me, for my groups, it's a balance.
Yeah.
For more advanced athletes,
it's very mobility one. Yeah. And when I do the more dynamic one, what they need to focus on, where my heel is behind me.
Okay, well, let's do the gentle one first. You can hold on to something if you haven't got the balance to start with this one. Are you still doing the gentle one?
Yeah.
Back view. Okay, so this is the advanced version, which interestingly enough you're holding on for.
Yeah, you can't.
It's less balance, more
stretch.
More stretch. It's less a focus on balance, more, yeah. And I don't recommend beginners try this one at all.
Gets me a bit out of breath as well.
Ooh. What are you feeling stretching there, Colin? Hip flexors.
Yeah, just here.
Yeah. It's a very, very strong stretch, so you've got to be quite an experienced, fast athlete to be thinking of trying that one.
I'm ready.
I'm going to put a health warning on that. So there we are, 4 dynamic stretches that you can put into your warm-up if you are going to do some faster sparkly bits, or you're going to do some faster running. Perhaps you're doing a track session, a club track session, something like that.
And before a race.
And before a race.
Before your park
really
run.
important.
If you want to do your fastest park run, do some dynamic stretches beforehand.
Yeah.
But you don't need to do too many.
No, 4's enough.
You don't need to be doing any star jumps or burpees in the warm-up, because they're too dynamic, and you've got to be really warmed up to do something like that. So
so they're quite gentle, really, aren't they, apart from the last one?
Don't get you out of breath.
And they will help your coordination, your balance, and stretch your muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look like you're going to say something else.
Well,
you're looking at me then.
Do they think I've practiced these? Do you think I've heavily practiced, especially my leg swinging? I was really pleased with how that went today. Okay, good. So where are we? We're on a beautiful day in the Jewel in South Shropshire's ground.
Can you see it? Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the background is
Stokesay Castle.
Stokesay Castle, which is not really a castle. It's a perfect mini castle, isn't it?
There's the historian.
It's a fortified house, but it is lovely. It's worth a visit if you are ever in Shropshire.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's it for this week, isn't it?
Yeah, you're going to post some things.
Yes,
on
I will put, perhaps I'll try and, oh gosh, that's hard work if I try and get some stills out of this. So put it on the, it'll all be on the website and on the Facebook group. So visit www.chattysparklyrunners.co.uk or join our Facebook group.
See you next week.
See you next week.